Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you GameFest and GameFest for having me here as a speaker. Today my talk is going to be about game design, and I know you had some talks about game design before as well, but I think today I just want to try something a little bit different lah. So just bear with me for a while, okay? All right. So let's start with, let me introduce myself. My name is Jeremy Uy. I am the lead game designer for Kaigan Games. I'm also one of the co-founders. Um, I'm best known for leading the design for the Simulacra series of games. They are like found phone horror games basically. So these are the games I made. There's another game I'm working on which is coming out soon called Deadly Rehearsal that I will have a bit more information over the next few weeks because we do have a new trailer coming up. One thing I've been doing recently is that I also am a part-time game design coach.
Oh,
Yeah, so I actually provided free game design coaching to local game devs basically. My coaching videos, you can find them on Instagram or YouTube. Having that out of the way, let's get started. So I've worked in the game industry for quite a while, more or less like 15 years, give or take. Okay, and I've also worked with a lot of developers of various skills level. Okay, and a lot of you, I know this is something that I notice locally as well. A lot of you guys have very good technical skills. I think you guys, programming wise, art wise, music production, a lot of these things are very very good. But one thing I do find is that the foundation for soft skills can be improved. Soft skills is quite hard to define. Things like communication, creativity, understanding, things like that, like empathy, like these are very like very vague and very sort of like unquantifiable skills that you have to learn. I think for today, right, through my foundational training, this is something I realized. I'm hoping if there's a way to help you guys improve your soft skills a little bit, and hopefully by extension that will help improve your game design skills. This is what I can hope to pass it on to you today. Let's go on a journey, okay? Let's walk with me for a bit. Okay, today's topic will be a little bit more metaphorical, a bit more philosophical, and also kind of mishmashy. Okay, I don't really have a lot of like very strong concrete tips. These are just like very very metaphorical. So if you have any questions, I'm very open to answer them. But for now, like, I'll keep it very very like open for discussion and very open-minded and open-ended. And hopefully, maybe there's some kind of learning that will come out of it. Okay. While it is still very metaphorical, these are all based on my opinion, based on things that I've learned, like the books I read, my performing arts background, and also the kind of games that I like to play. My opinion doesn't mean that I'm right. I'm not right all the time. I can be wrong. So don't take this as like hard and fast rule. Just think more of it like starting points for you to think about something a lot more deeper. Let's start with a question. What is our role as a game developer? You can keep this question in your head. What is our role? Like, what is our job as game developers? And why do we make games? Why do we make games? I want you to ask this question every now and then. Every now and then, just come back to yourself and just ask, why do we make games? Why do we make games? I'll start by telling you a story, okay? About the very first video game I played. It all started when I need to be babysitted. I was in primary school and my mom needed to go to work. So she dropped me at a relative house to be babysat. In that house, one of my relatives have a Nintendo Family Computer. I don't know if you've seen it before, but this is like a very early version of of a console. And one of the games that was available to play was this game called Rockman. If you don't know Rockman, you might know about Mega Man. We tend to take things for granted, okay? I mean, a lot of you grew up with smartphones, with computers, with consoles readily available to you. Games are so easily accessible nowadays, and sometimes we do take this for granted. Back in the day, right? Video games are such a unique concept. You mean to tell me I can use my hands to hold this controller and this thing on the screen can move? Like, can you imagine how novel idea of it that must have felt like? Like, it might as well be magic. It might as well be wizardry. Like, wow, I can touch this thing and the things on my screen move. When you're so used to watching cartoons, you're so used to watching TV shows. This is like might as well be wizardry to me. Okay, now in Mega Man, there are a few unique things, okay? It's generally a platformer, and there are some unique elements to Mega Man. Number one, you can select the stage. You can play these bosses in any particular order, all right? So it is mostly a platform shooter, so you can jump, you can shoot, and that is what you do most of the time. Another unique element of Mega Man is that when you defeat the bosses, you can gain their powers. So if I defeat Cutman, I can gain Cutman's powers. When I play this game, right, naturally we try to start from the top. So I tried, I was young, I don't know how to play games, so, I was back and forth, got better at it, I practiced. The more I play, the more I understand the mechanics, the more I figure out how to play the game. And I managed to beat Gutsman. So Gutsman is this guy who can throw these little boulders. And of course, the unique mechanic of Mega Man is that when you beat Gutsman, you can gain his power. You can pick up these rocks and you can throw. I was like, wow, this is so cool. Not only this game, can jump and shoot and everything, I can gain their powers. I have now the strength of this particular robot. Basically, the idea is that you see these blocks, or these unique colored blocks. When you walk into them, they get highlighted and you can just pick it up and throw them. When I play this level, right, I noticed something. Okay, so these rocks can be thrown, but there are similar looking blocks in Cutman's boss arena. So in Cutman, when I fight him, there are these similar boxes as well. So I was like, wait a minute. These boxes are the same. Okay? So I tried to use Gutsman's power on him. I pick up the rocks and throw, and it dealt massive damage. That was like such a mind-blown moment for me. Like, what do you mean? You can take these rocks and you can throw and it deals more damage? Is there more? Like, is there anything more I can do? If Gutman has rocks and it can beat Caesars, does that logic apply to the other bosses as well? Can bomb blow up a rock? Yes, it can. Okay? Can fire melt ice? Okay, this is a little weird. For some reason, Fireman's ability does not work well against Iceman. So this is kind of weird to me. It bothers me to this day. But can scissors cut wire electric? And yes, it can. So as I play the game, I discovered that the bosses have unique weaknesses against each other. And some of them, by using the logic of what these abilities can do, you can do more damage to these bosses. It was such a unique experience, okay? I felt very challenged. It made me feel very creative when I discovered these boss weaknesses. I was very deeply affected. It really, really changed the way I think. I was lucky enough because last year, I just so happened to be in Osaka and I was on a train and I saw this poster, Capcom Creation exhibition at one of the museums. So I thought, oh my god, it's Capcom. And you see this little Mega Man picture there that, like, oh, we have to go. I have to go check it out. So I went there. Okay, I went to this exhibition. So this is some of the photos I took. So if you can see on the left there, there's a lot of like design notes. So if you see the top, on the top right there, you can see like a lot of the original pixel art that they did and a lot of the design notes you have. At the bottom left is a stage from Street Fighter. Okay, so they actually drew it. They actually drew on grid paper, and then they sort of decide where the pixel goes and everything. And on the bottom right is the American version of Rockman, which is called Mega Man. And you can see, as of course, there's a very like cursed, bastardized version of Rockman, as this particular character, which does not represent what this character looked like in the game at all, which is kind of funny, lah. Okay, at the end, you get to put this like sharing notes on the wall. So basically you can take out like this paper and then you can like write on this paper. So what I did, I took a piece of paper and I wrote there. Okay, Rockman or / Mega Man was the very first video game I played. It inspired me to make games in the future. I managed to achieve my dream of being a game designer. This is what I wrote and I put there. Okay, and little did I know that game inspired me to the game designer in the future as I was learning more and more about game design, as I start to put notes down. This is, I even start to like write physical notes about games on physical paper, and that sort of paralleled, the notes I saw in the Capcom exhibition. It's like, wow, they wrote notes too. They wrote things on paper as well. So I was like, very, 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 very inspired. So that question I asked you guys earlier, okay? Why do I make games? Why do I make games? So that it might inspire somebody to make something that inspire others, just like what Mega Man did, just like what Rockman did. It affected me so much that I was so inspired that I wanted to make something that hopefully one day can do the same to other people as well. What's the point of this story? Come on, this is a game about this talk. I haven't even gotten to the topic. So what is the point of this story? The point of the story is that games can make people feel profound feelings, and I believe that maybe some or most of you might feel that same way as well, right? Okay, perhaps the reason you're here is because playing a game has affected you in a meaningful way, and maybe that's why you want to make video games. Okay, maybe that's why you want to come into the game industry. I sort of challenge you to ask yourself the same question, right? That I asked myself. Why do you make games? Okay, why? So have that question in your head, keep that in mind. I'm going to the next thing, okay? So now let me ask, another question. What kind of games that will affect people in such a way? What kind of games that when you play, it affects you so deeply that people are truly changed from within? One might say a good game can have that effect on somebody. Mega Man is a good game, and a good game can affect me, and that changed the way I think about games, that changed the way I play games. It makes me feel like a lot of emotions, right? If I make a good game, does that mean someone else will feel something about it? So, okay, kind of makes sense, right? So, a good game is something that makes people feel something, makes people feel emotions. So now let me ask you another question. What is a good game? You see, I ask a lot of questions. This is like this is a very philosophical talk, right? What is a good game? Now, what if I tell you there is no such thing as a good game? There's no such thing as a bad game also. All right. Now, objection. You might think, hey, you're talking nonsense lah. Of course, there are good games and there are bad games. There are metrics out there that tells us what is a good game and what is a bad game. All right. Does it make a lot of money? Does a good game make a lot of money? Does a good game get good reviews? And does a good game get streamed a lot? Yeah, you can argue like a good game does one, if not more, of these things, right? That's what makes a good game. If there are, so then I will say, if there are no good or bad games, then how do we measure its effect on other people? So if I tell you right now, and if you were to choose to believe me, to say that if they are not good, no good or bad games, so how do we measure its effect on other people? How do we know how strongly a game can affect somebody else? All right. Instead, games, they kind of exist on a spectrum. We have games that are like Skinner boxes, like very immediate satisfaction kind of games. You press something, something happens. Like gacha games or like clicker games. They build on very very quick feedback loops, small satisfactory moment. You might think of games as entertainment. This is a very. Have you played a game where it's like, this game is really fun, I really enjoy it, but the moment I put this game down, I forgot about it already. I remember having fun, but nothing about the game sticks with me. And of course, you can see game as art, where after you play the game, you were so moved by it that you cannot stop thinking about it. You were so transformed by the game, and all you can is think about this. And what makes this even worse is that this spectrum affects people in different ways as well. People might have profound experiences from gacha games. People might look at a game that is very widely considered artistic and think, oh my god, I'm so bored. Me telling you this, how do we untangle it all, right? There are no good or bad games. Games exist in the spectrum. Everyone gets affected by games differently. How do we make sense all of it? Where do we start? What do we do now? Okay, that's the neat part. You don't think about that. You don't think about it. At the end of the day, right? Games are subjective. And what do we do when this fact is given to you? The only thing to do is to look onto yourselves. Really, really figure out what we want to make and make it with intent. Make it with strong intention. Okay, that's why I ask you, why do you make games? If you have to measure a game by some kind of metric, it is better to say that is the designer's intention clear or not. So if I were to tell you, and if you were to believe me, that there are no good or bad games, the only metric I can give you is that, is the designer's intention clear? Because sometimes when you play a game and then you think about it as like, what does this game want me to do? What are they trying to tell me? What are they trying to make me do? And if you cannot gel with it, that means the intention is not very clear. And it does not mean that the game is quote unquote good or bad. Because if a game gets highly reviewed, does not mean that it sells very well. If a game sells very well, it doesn't mean that it's very highly reviewed. All right? So the only metric I can ask you that is the most constant is that, is the designer's intention clear or not? Now, let me ask you another question. What is making something with intent? How would that look like? Okay, I want you to picture this scenario. So imagine, right? You just go into a crowd. You just stop, and then you just look into the sky, and you just look at something. You look at it so intently, and then you just stop. You just don't focus on anything, and you just keep staring at it. And then other people will be like, "What are you looking at?" And they try to look at this thing that you're trying to look at, but it's not there. It's imaginary. I made you look,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah. So have you experienced this feeling? That's what I mean with intent. You're doing something so focused, so driven towards a goal that people cannot help but take notice. They cannot help it. It's part of our nature. When people do something with so much intensity, you have to pay attention. It's like we cannot avoid it. So the process of making something with intent, I would break it down like this. This is, like I said, it's my opinion. So this is how I break it down. It is based on your experience, filtered through your core values that you have for yourself, or maybe the outside world, released as an expression, and then this expression is turned into creation. So this is the process of making something with intent. You experience something, you funnel it to your core values. You then express it through whatever feeling that you're feeling, and then you make something out of that expression. If you were to do like traditional art, like let's say movies or traditional drawings in that sense, music maybe, a lot of the process is like this. I was taught like this when I was in theater. You take experiences, you have to churn it through your core values, you express, and then you create something out of it. So this is something that you're making with intention. But there is a slight problem, okay? Video games, they're very different from traditional media, like film, music, theater, paintings, and so on and so forth. These kind of traditional art forms, they're consumed passively. That means like you listen, you watch, there's some sort of passive consumption. And then if you were to reflect, you have to actively participate. If you watch a movie that is kind of okay, you just watch it, you just consume it. But then when you are affected by it, then that's where you start to reflect on it. Games are different because the moment you pick up a controller and you press a button, you're already actively consuming. The player is already active. That means their brain is already getting to start working already. We need to try to find a way to blend in the process of making something we intend with players' active participation. So in the way I look at it is like, you consume actively, and then the players will have to passively reflect. That means as they play the game, they realize something, as they go along. They realize something as they play. The more they play, the more they feel connected by it. And this is achieved passively, okay? Just like when I played Mega Man when I was really young, having the connection of the rock, paper, scissors, the fire, the bomb breaking rocks, things like that, it is like, it's a click in your head. There is just, oh wow, what if you do this? Now, the idea of intent for games is that you need to combine the designer's intent with the player's intent into some kind of like super intent, okay? Like the designer and the player are unified in their goals in terms of achieving whatever it is that you want in a game. So having said that, you have the designer's intent, you have the player's intent. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we make that connection? Because when you make traditional media, you just show it to somebody and then they'll give you feedback. But games are very different. Games requires active participation. So the process of getting them to feel something from your game requires active consumption and passive reflection. So I'll give you some tools to help you make your games like just a little bit clearer, just a little bit more fleshed out, so that when people play your game, they can connect to it faster. And if they can connect to it faster, they will feel something a lot stronger. So first thing to think about is verbs. Actions that you take. These are verbs. You look at this game. This is Rockman. This is a platformer. You might tell me, isn't this game about jumping and shooting? We have so many games about jumping and shooting. What makes it so special? Like thousands of games have jumping and shooting in them, and jumping and shooting together. What makes this game so special? This is what I realize a lot of new game developers make, is that when they look at the game and this game has jumping and this game has shooting, and they put jumping and shooting, they somehow have replicated, quote unquote, a Mega Man like game or whatever it is. If you've seen like clones, usually clones tend to fall into this trap a lot. They will see one game and then they'll try to copy it, and something about them copying the game, something just doesn't feel right. Okay? So I want you to learn to start breaking down your game's actions into a bit more specifics. If this game is about jump and shoot, maybe shoot is not the right word, because shoot is too vague. Shooting in Mega Man and shooting in Modern Warfare is very different, right? So what do you mean by shoot in a game like this? Shoot can mean you pick enemies from far, or you burst enemies up close. You rapid fire when they're near, you shoot enemies from far. Jump can be dodge enemy fire, or you want to land with precision. If you make a game that's about jumping and shooting, don't stop there. Ask yourself, what does jump mean in your game? What does shoot mean in your game? Break down the verbs into even more specifics so that you can try to understand a lot better. The more specific your verbs, the stronger it is the feeling of your intention. If you want to make a game that is about jumping and shooting, the kind of jump and the kind of shoot also has to be very specific. And the only way to do this, if you really, really break down the very, very minor details about how this game behaves. What might add even more stronger association with having verbs in your game that connects to the player is that these verbs, while they are very clear, they are also tied with your unique verbs with precise controls. Like fighting games have very unique inputs, right? Like Hadouken, if you see this, the way Ryu poses, right? How he holds his hand together from from his belly, he pushes it out, and then a fireball comes out. Okay, and how does the Hadouken input works? Down, back, down, forward, forward, punch. This motion creates a fireball, and this motion is how Ryu throws a fireball in game. And how does Gal throw a sonic boom? He holds the back button and forward and punch. And you see the animation, he pulls back, right? If you've seen Street Fighter, if you've seen Gal how he throws a sonic boom, he pulls his hand back, he swings it forward, and the sonic boom comes out, which is the same like a controller input. So having very specific verbs, like throw a fireball, slice the air, these are strong verbs, and if you can make your controls feel like that as well, even better. The player will get even more connected with your game. A very simple example is like Mega Man. A more complex example is like Street Fighter. Okay, next, association. When you meet somebody, or anybody you meet, even yourself, we already have built-in biases, preferences, and attachment to different things. When we make a game, right, we are not starting from zero. This framework is already built into people, and we can use that to help people connect to your game even better. I'll give you an example. This example, I got it from talk from my favorite game designers from Magic the Gathering. He's called Mark Rosewater. He used this example a lot. I cannot find a better example than this. This is like the perfect example, so I'm just going to steal it from him, okay? Okay, so if you look at this game, okay, this game is called Plant vs. Zombies, okay? Why do you think this game is called that? You might think that, oh, Plant vs. Zombies, it's cute, it's funny, it's cartoonish, it doesn't have to make sense. People might look at it and have a good laugh. Oh, it's Plant vs. Zombies, haha, it's cute. This game would make a lot more sense if you know that this is a tower defense game. What's the properties of a tower defense game? You have a tower that is stationary and it shoots stuff. And then you have like a monster, a horde that keeps coming in, right? That keeps coming in by wave after wave after wave after wave. Now, what is also a stationary unit that cannot move? A plant, right? Once a plant is planted, it cannot move. So it's essentially a tower. It's the function is like a tower in a tower defense game. And what is a slow-moving enemy that is like they can come in hordes? Zombies. They come in hordes, right? So you see these two association, while they don't have to, they don't really make any particular quote-unquote logical sense, but they have strong association with the game mechanics. And the more you play it, the more you can buy into the idea because of how the game mechanics work and also how the game's themes and thematics tie into one another. All right? Certain elements evoke specific emotions, and if we know what those are, we can impart them very clearly. So if you want players to buy into your tower defense game even more, by having certain elements that relate to that a lot stronger, they will buy into your game, or they will fall in love, or they will connect with it even stronger. All right? People might not feel any emotional attachment to a stationary tower, but they might feel an attachment to a plant. Okay, and having plants shooting zombies, again, doesn't really make any logical sense in that sense. But as a tower defense game, it makes perfect sense. Okay, next thing is target. I want you to really, really think. Do you really know who is your game for? When you make a game, who are you targeting to? Very often, I sometimes ask, okay, what is your game's target audience? People will say, players who like action games, players who like cooking games, players who like platformers, players who like RPGs, and so on and so forth. Not to say that it's a very bad way of looking at it, but I want you to really think, do you actually truly know who your game is for? I want to give a personal example of mine. Okay, this is something that I experienced with somebody that I know. When you look at Elden Ring, who do you think the target audience is this game for? Okay, I put three things here. There's challenging combat, there's open world, there's fantasy. Okay, I would think most people might think that people like Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is from Software, they're Dark Souls, they're mostly known for very challenging combat. So I would think that Elden Ring is a game for challenging combat. So you might say like, okay, if you don't like challenging combat, you might not like this game. Even I myself would think like that until this thing happened to me. I have somebody I know who chose to play Elden Ring, which I have never like. I never imagined this person would play Elden Ring. Okay, because this person don't generally play combat games. This person don't generally play like very difficult, combat. This is the first ever like very difficult combat. Like never, like not even like fighting games, not even like action RPGs or whatnot. It's like straight away Elden Ring is the first game with any kind of combat. You know why? Because this person likes fantasy so much that is willing to play through the difficult combat, play through the open world, and enjoy the fantasy elements of it. Because Elden Ring, another strong point about Elden Ring, it is lore. Elden Ring's lore is very deep. Elden Ring's lore is very, it's very unique, and the appeal of the game is so strong that somebody is willing to push through all the challenging combat just to experience the fantasy element. So I was really, really caught off guard. I was like, oh my god, I really, really underestimated how the fantasy element of Elden Ring can appeal to somebody. You can see that how a game's appeal to an audience is something totally, completely unexpected. Even to today, I am discovering the threshold of what people can like or can not like. So as a game developer, as a game designer, I need to challenge that myself as well. I need to really ask myself, do I really, really understand my audience? So, how to know your audience? Unfortunately, there's no easy answer for this. To know your audience is to know yourself. If you know yourself, it is easier for you to connect with other players, and it's easier for you to know other people as well. It is an endless road that you have to keep going. It is a constant journey. Even I am still on this road, constantly asking myself, do I know my audience as well? The best way to do is keep asking questions. I ask a lot of questions all the way here, right? You might not know the answers now, but I can guarantee you, if the more you find answers to those questions I ask you, the better it is you understand yourself. And the better you understand yourself, the better is it that you will understand other people. Next one is mise-en-scène. Okay, this is a French term. Okay, it is a term usually most for film. All right, and what it means is about the arrangement of the scene. Okay, what's in the scene? The props, the actors, the lights, the set. Like all of this to place into a scene itself. If I were to look at this scene and I decide, what if I were to take something away? I just take. You can imagine I take the left rack, the coat hanger, and I just remove it from this scene. What will it look like? Okay, suddenly the entire scene falls apart because suddenly something feels off, because I realized that, hey, the reason why that thing's there is to establish some sort of symmetry, right? Because this shot is shot in this particular way. There is, two people standing aside, one person in the middle, two props on the side. The way it's lit, the way it's shined, it feels off if I were just to remove it. Suddenly, the whole shot falls apart just because I move one of that set. And the same thing will happen if I add one more set. If I were to put something else on the couch or hang a picture on the ceiling, suddenly this scene will fall apart. All right? It is a very tricky metaphor to use because this is more for film, right? If I were to translate mise-en-scene to a game, it might look something like this. It's just a lot of different elements coming together. This is a scene from Interstellar, okay? This is where this guy walks into the fifth dimension, and then suddenly it's like he's looking at his whole lifetime all at once. A game's mise-en-scene probably looks something like this, okay? It's really confusing. It's really, really tough to wrap your head around the whole thing, right? So, too often, a game's mechanic can go against your entire game, just like in that scene. If I were to add or remove a particular game mechanic, sometimes the whole thing will fall apart, and just because of that one thing. For a mise-en-scene to work, it is better to have a complete game with less parts than a game with incomplete parts. If I were to play your game and ask, hey, what about this? What is this thing for? Oh, it's a feature that I'll add later, like it's not fleshed out yet, but I'll just put in there just to so that I have something. I would argue that having that thing makes your entire game worse because it ruins the quote-unquote mise-en-scene of your game, the completeness of your game, the intentional arrangement of your entire game. Okay, so that's all the tools I have for now. I have some final thoughts. Okay, what is this? What is the point of all of this? Okay, I've seen a lot of games where it's not to say that their game is not made with intent. There is intent, but their intent is misplaced. I've seen a lot of games try to chase the hot selling trends. The intent is to replicate a highly reviewed game, or I see a game that tries to get a lot of views, but it doesn't come from within. If you remember the slide about making something with intention, experience, core values, expression, and creation, one of these elements is incomplete. They maybe get expression without core values, or they might get their core values without any external experience, or they might create based on directly just experience. They see experience, they just create. They skip core values, they skip expression. They would just go straight into creation. Okay, the whole process is the process is incomplete, and it makes the game very unclear. So if you remember the metric earlier, I asked you to measure is that a game is not because it's good or bad, it's because the designer's intention is clear or not. When you take mechanics or elements from other games, you are also taking the intention of those other games as well. And if you don't fully understand those intentions, if you don't fully understand where those things are coming from, it will just not fit into your game. And the whole mise-en-scene of your game is is wrong. All right. So the product can sometimes end up very confused. So maybe it's time to dig deeper within yourself and ask, what is your role as a game developer? And why do you make games? And if you choose to make them, why do you make these games? All right? Okay? Thank you. That's all for today. That's all for my talk. Because I'm a part-time game design coach, again, it's free, free game design coaching. If you want any kind of game design coaching for any of your projects, or maybe you just want to know more about game design, the link is in the QR code as well.